Seungwon Choi is a new member, not quite so new anymore, really, but a recent member of the Department of Psychiatry, and he studies somatosensory pathways in pain. And we call him Sebastian. He invited us to call him Sebastian. I'll mention that. He started his studies in Korea, where he got both did his basic college education, what we would call college, and he got a master's degree from the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology in Seoul. Then he moved to Boston. He got a PhD from Harvard University in the Genetics, Biological, and Biomedical Sciences program. And after that, for his postdoctoral training, he went to the Ginty Laboratory, which is a Howard Hughes lab at Harvard. Currently, Sebastian came here as an endowed scholar. He's an assistant professor, and he's a Virginia Murchison Linthicum Scholar in medical research in the Department of Psychiatry and the O'Donnell Brain Institute. Dr. Choi studies he studies the development, function, and dysfunction of ascending somatosensory pathways. His lab aims to determine the developmental logic and the functional organization of ascending somatic sensory circuitry, and to use this knowledge to reveal how internal states and disorders of the nervous system shape our sense of touch and pain. His laboratory is supported by his by a secret grant, by his endowed scholar grant, the Rita Allen Foundation Scholars Program Fund, the Whitehall Foundation, as well as the Brain Behavior Research Foundation. With that, I'll invite Dr. Choi up, ascending somatosensory pathways that shape the sense of touch and pain.
Thank you, Carol. My name is Seungwon, Sebastian Choi, and I studied in my lab about a year and four months now. And my lab studies this ascending somatosensory circuitry that shapes the sense of touch and pain. So this is my little one skiing down the hill. My family loves skiing, and I did my PhD and a postdoc in the East Coast in Boston. So whenever we wanted to go for skiing, we went to Vermont or New Hampshire mountains, and we really enjoyed skiing there so many years. And then last spring, we decided to explore a new place. So for the first time, we went for skiing in Colorado Rockies, and it was beautiful and it was really fun. We really loved it there. And I realized that it is quite different skiing from in the East Coast and skiing in the Colorado Rockies or West Coast. So probably a lot of people, or many people in the audience who like skiing and also who has skied in both of the places would know the difference. So the difference is the texture of the snow. So East Coast, most of the mountains is icy, slushy, and slippery. Whereas the West Coast or Colorado Rockies, it is powdery and fluffy and soft. So it is better. So when you think about this, it is quite amazing. So we have boots and skis on. We can still sense and feel and tell the difference of the texture of the snow just through the vibration of our skin. So we have a really amazing and really good sensory system. We can detect the external world around us. So skin is the largest sensory organ. We feel and sense the physical world around us through our skin. So it is hard to imagine life without the sense of touch, the sensation that we have and experience the world around us through our skin. But so imagine that you cannot feel the touch or hugs from your loved ones. That would be truly detrimental, and also it is not even imaginable. But not just touch, but also warm shower, a mosquito bite, and sore muscles workout. And all these tactile, thermal, itch, and nociceptive signals are first detected by primary sensory neurons, and then propagated into spinal cord, and then conveyed to multiple regions of the brain through ascending touch and pain pathways. So primary sensory neurons innervating the skin and detecting a wide range of somatosensory signals have been identified and very well characterized. So for example, in the field, we know that there are a group of sensory neurons detecting the pain, different pain and temperature and different types of touch and itch signals. And these are all the markers that we use to label each individual subtypes of primary sensory neurons. And the field also received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2021 for the discovery of ion channels that are expressed in these primary sensory neurons and also detect the temperature and mechanical force. So as you can tell in the field, there has been a huge emphasis on the primary sensory neurons and their physiology and their function. In contrast, very little is known about how these sensory signals are processed and integrated within the spinal cord and how these signals are conveyed to multiple regions of the brain to generate our smart sensory perception and behavior responses. So my lab is interested in studying the organization logic of this ascending smart sensory pathway, which is the bridge between the periphery and the brain. So we're very interested in studying this early sensory processing happening at the level of spinal output neurons and also their first order brain targets. So today I'll just give you kind of like the high level big picture overview of the research directions in the lab. So we have a few different directions, but we are focusing on this ascending system, but looking at this ascending system in different angles or different aspects. So one research direction is about this functional organization of this ascending system. So when you think about touch and pain, it is really complex and multidimensional. So for example, when you get pinched, you know that which body part is pinched. So you know that where the location of the sensory stimuli. And also, you know that you are pinched. You didn't get any like gentle brush stroke of your skin. So you can discriminate between different sensory stimuli. And also there's a big emotional components. So you feel bad or feel hurt when you get pinched. And also there's a motor components. So you turn your head or your body to attend and see what is happening at the stimulation site. And also autonomic components. So you have increased heart rate, for example. So we think that the reason why we have this complex and multidimensional the touch and pain sensation is because we have this modular organization of ascending anterolateral pathway, which is the main ascending system in the spinal cord. So there are multiple independent ascending pathways or modules that innervate different parts of the brain. So we think that maybe one pathway is doing the different pathways doing different things. So maybe one pathway is for location, one pathway is for discrimination, and one pathway for emotion. And we have all the mouse genetic tools we can use to really target each individual components of this ascending circuits. And we can combine those mouse genetic tools with the physiology, anatomy, and behavior tools we have to really understand the functional organization of ascending sensory circuits. And second direction is about the dysfunction of this ascending system. So what is altered in this ascending system in the disease states? The touch and pain sensation is also dependent on the internal and disease states. The classic example of this is that the soldiers in the battlefield, they often do not feel much pain, even though they have injuries, because they're really focused on the battle. So really, that kind of tells you that touch and pain sensation is really dependent on the internal state or tensional state. But also, it is very much dependent on the disease states. So for example, people with chronic pain or ISDs, for them, gentle touch can be perceived as disturbing or painful. So that really tells you that the same exact sensory inputs can be interpreted differently by the system depending on the context. We are very interested in studying this context-dependent touch and pain sensation. And initially, we're going to be focused on these cancer pain models because, first of all, this is really clinically relevant models. And also, we think that it is nice to study at the intersection of the neuroscience and cancer biology, especially here at the UT Southwestern Medical Center, where there are many the labs that have expertise in cancer biology. And actually, we started a collaboration and we're learning a lot from Sean Morrison's lab here. And third direction of the research is about the development of this ascending system. So as I told you earlier, there are a variety of the sensory signals detected by our system. And these different sensory stimuli and signals are conveyed to multiple regions in the brain. And we think that this sophisticated structure of the ascending system really enables precise propagation of different sensory stimuli to different regions in the brain. And we are very interested in studying how this complex ascending circuit is formed and wired during development. And this aspect of research is really interesting, especially in the context of the pain and touch sensation in the premature or newborn the babies. So I was kind of shocked when I heard that even until late 80s in the States, people sort of assumed that these premature babies do not feel pain. So they performed a lot of invasive surgeries on them without anesthesia. So that really tells you that how much we don't know about how this pain pathways or touch pathways are formed during development. So we're going to be studying this aspect, focusing on three different aspects. One is anatomy and physiological maturation, and also the emergence of the behavior during development. And the last direction of the lab is about the social touch. So touch is really important, the sensation we use to interact with others, especially for humans. And we share our joy and love and friendship just by touching others or getting touched by others. So one of the lab's research direction is to really study one of the social touch models and to study this ascending system in the context of the social touch. So with that, I'd like to thank some of the, actually all the lab members in the labs. We are a very small lab, but these founding members really helped a lot setting up the lab. So I really appreciate all the efforts they made so far. And these are the funding sources that I recently received. And I'll take any question.
Well, that's a pretty big lab for first year.
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
two of them are rotating students. Hopefully I can recruit them this year.
Question? Okay, if not, you know where to find him afterward. Thank you, Sebastian.